My name is Diane Janice Johnson, known as Donna Johnson. I was born in Maryborough on the 26th of the 10th, 1950. Well, my father was Sydney Davis, and he lived in Hervey Bay, born and bred in Hervey Bay, Urangan. He married my mother, who was Pauline Mitchell from the Sunshine Coast. They got married in Brisbane, and she moved up here and had 3 boys, and then myself and my sister say that's 5, isn't it? 5 in the family, yeah. My father's family lived in Elizabeth Street. I think it was 75 Elizabeth Street, and he went to school at Urangan School, and I just don't know, I forget how many children they had. Oh, God, I can't even think. Would have been about 7 or 8 children. My aunt and my nana and my grandmother and my grandfather. That's where he lived. He worked on the railway in Maryborough, and I think he moved to Nambour and worked there too. He went back to Nambour with Mum because the boys went to school in, they had children, my brothers were born in Nambour, and my sister and I were born in Maryborough, so we must have moved back at some time. But they went to school at Urangan School, and they also went to Nambour, and I started school in Buderim, and my sister started school in Mackay. The South Sea Island side starts from my grandmother, who was, she was an Oba before she married my grandfather, and she was a full-blooded South Sea Island lady from Oba Island. Oh, well, she wasn't, her mother was, and she lived next door to her brother, who was Sid Oba, and her sister lived down the road, and her name was Annie Davis. And 2 brothers married 2 sisters, like Annie and Harry, and then my grandfather was Fred, and my grandmother was Elizabeth. And my grandfather, I think he was part Aboriginal and South Sea Islander. And as far as all that, they just lived in Urangan, that's all I knew. My mother's side of the family, well, her mother was part Aboriginal and part white, and she was from Surat in, where would that be? Oh, in Queensland, but somewhere down next to Toowoomba. And she married Charlie Chile, who was half Aboriginal, half South Sea. And they got married at Indooroopilly, and they had 7 children, which my mother was the only girl. And no, did they have 7 children? There was Uncle... my mother was the only girl anyway, and they had 4 boys or 5 boys, yeah. And they all went to school in Buderim Mountain, on Buderim Mountain. My great-grandfather lived at Sippy Downs, and he married a full-blooded Aboriginal woman from Malula, and they had 7 children, and that's all I could sort of remember, but I know that we spoke to the Westaway family about 4 years ago, and it was the first time a Chile family went back onto the property for 99 years. And I've got photos of the Westaway family who greeted us and were so happy that my great-grandfather worked for them, and my grandfather, my mother's father, worked for them also. And they were very respected, honest people. I was told by the Westaways. They worked hard, and that's all I know about the family. And my mother doesn't know much about her grandfather either, because all she knew that he was from the Loyalty Islands, and he used to fish a lot. Used to do fishing when he, had time off. Oh, and also he made a basket for the Westaway family. They told me this when we were talking to them, that he was a basket maker, and he made a beautiful big basket, and they used it for their family, for a clothes basket, a bassinet for their children growing up. And so that's all I could sort of talk about my great-grandfather. And my grandfather, Mum's father, he was a stockman, and he worked for Westoways. And then he was, him and his two brothers were removed from the Sunshine Coast, because that was how the law was then. They were just removed from the Sunshine Coast to Taroom Mission. But they were working also, but the protector of the day just said that they were just taken away from their country. But he returned because the Westoways wanted him back to work for them. And the other two brothers of his, one died of the influenza, and the other one died of internal injuries, because he probably wanted to get back to his country, hometown. So they've also got a gravesite out there at Taroom Mission, whereas I was got in touch with the elders from that area, and there's a name of Herbert Chile and Alfred Chile, and it's now heritage listed, but it's on somebody's property where Taroom Mission is from. And my grandfather came back to the Sunshine Coast, worked for Westoways, and brought all his children up on the Sunshine Coast. Westoways are a family that were pastoralists. They owned a lot of land and cattle, and they had a lot of people working from the Malula tribe, so that they were saying, and they treated the Aboriginal people really well, but they treated my grandfather really, really good, because he was, they'd go away on holidays, and he was left to look after the property for them, and he lived on the land with them, my grandma and grandfather. And so did my great uncle and his wife. My mother was a Malula woman, and also Nalbo, because if you look at the map, when they put all different tribes, I looked at making of the Sunshine Coast. Well, Malula's Malula, and that covers nearly all Buderim and the coast, Sippy Downs. Nambour was a different tribe, and most of my family, they're all buried in the Nambour Cemetery. So that was Nalbo, and from Caloundra up the coast, that's Yindambi tribe. So I class myself as Malula. I have 5 children. I have 2 before I married Leon, and my 2 eldest know who their father is, but I'd like to keep it as this is Leon and we're all one. This is our family. And I have 13 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. Well, the most important thing was my mother. I'm getting teary-eyed now. But she was just a special person. She worked field work, like she'd do ginger picking and things like that, you know. But she always wanted to do, she was just a hard worker. And still looking after the children, the kids, but she was a hard worker, but she just was there for you. And that's very special. I'll never, you know, that's why she was special to me. I think of when I made the state side for basketball, that was the proudest moment, because I was so happy, and the family struggled to get me there, and I'd say that would be the proudest moment, that I felt really proud of myself. In Mackay, I mean, Mackay I should say, I don't know why I call it Mackay. My mother worked there too. She used to strip cane and do things like that, but still look after the family. So we hardly had much, we didn't have much money, but the brothers were away working, and so my eldest brother, he sent money home for me to go to Adelaide. And just the family getting together and helping with the financial side of it. So I had to, I just felt proud of that. And I just had one set of clothes to wear on the plane, and those clothes were the same clothes that when I come home, and I had second-hand tracksuit pants and, you know, Queensland tracksuit pants, pair of basketball shoes that my stepdad, he used to, in those days, you could put rubber on the bottom of it. I don't know what you call that, you know, because we played on bitumen, and, you know, your shoes would sort of wear out, and then he'd just patch them up and you just cover it with another sole, whatever it is. I went away with that. I was proud of that. The other girls had, you know, the best, like, good shoes and things like that. I didn't. But I was proud of, you know, that never stopped me from playing how I should be playing. And I wasn't ashamed of what to take away. And yet when my daughters played for the state side for basketball, I made sure they had the best of everything what everybody else had, you know. But when I went away, I didn't have that, but I was still proud of what I was given, what I had to take away. And that's when they had the first time I ever went on a plane also. So that was scary. My brother dropped me off, and he was worried for me, and I was worried to get on the plane, and oh, it was funny, but I liked taking off and landing in the planes at that time, and they had just the electric planes then. Then we had to get change planes in Brisbane, and it was the 727. When I grew up, yes, I went to Buderim School. Halfway through Buderim, we travelled up because Mum's Nana Chili was in Mackay, so Mum followed, we went up there and went to Central School in Mackay. And yes, it was good growing up. Bit of racism, you know, at times, but you just deal with that. And but other than that, sport is the best thing to get into. You meet a lot of good friends, you know, in sport, and yeah, so, but growing up I went to grade 10, and that's when I left school and worked. I worked at a cafe as a domestic for these people. I just forget their names now. They owned a shop, and so I was just working there, and then I worked on the fields with my mum, and then when we left Mackay, I worked at the ginger factory in Buderim for about 3 years. And I worked in Brisbane for about 3 years. And then we got married. I met Leon in Hervey Bay, and we just clicked, I think. That was it. So we have a family and we're all happy. We're still together. And yes. And Leon worked on the council for 38 years, so we lived in Hervey Bay, and then we moved to Maryborough and used to travel back and forwards. I worked for DSQ here in Maryborough for 18 years, and we had our family. They all went to school here, played sport here. Then now the grandkids all play sport, hockey now. They play basketball too, and then we just built a house at Oakhurst, and we've been there for 20 years. We rented before then, and now we built our home at Oakhurst. We love it there. Now it's just him and I home. The kids are all left and they've all got their families. And so it's just him and I, and we're just glad to see them when we see them, which we will this afternoon, because they're wondering how I'm going. See what's happening. Yeah. Come from a sporting family, I certainly have. And all my children are exactly the same, so we just love our sport. Oh yes, another thing about my granddaughter. She plays in the Australian team for softball, and she will be going away in this month because she's got a contract in the United States, in America, till November. So she's playing softball there. So, but she made the Australian team. So, yeah. So I'm proud of that also. And yes, my both sons are artists actually. One does Aboriginal painting. My other son, he doesn't. He just does figures, like cartoon. And yeah, so they are. Just two of them I know of. The other kids don't. And I think my grandson, he does figures too, like cartoons and things like that, yeah. I just knew, because Mum used to say that we were South Sea Islanders also, and not so long ago, my cousin and I was the first one of Mum's family to go back to the island where he was taken from. And that was just going cruising on the boat and just looking at Mare, where he was taken from that island. I just had a strange feeling. I was feeling sad, happy, but just looking at it, how it would have been for him to be taken from there to come to another place to work as a slave. That's what, they were blackbirded here, so, and just going back to that island, that would be the most memorable thing, going back to the island, meeting the people, giving them the certificate where he got married to the Aboriginal on Buderim Mountain, right back in it's on the birth certificate anyway. And I showed the islanders there, and they think that his name could have been not Chile, Sealy, the way they pronounced it, but that's the thing I remember. And Mum used to tell me about her grandfather, and her daddy she used to call him Daddy, used to take him fishing, Mooloolaba and things like that, and she's got a tape there saying how she grew up and how she knew some South Sea Island people there. But she never ever spoke about the Salvation Army were there. Well, the Salvation Army married the first Charlie Chile, and she can't remember that, the Salvation Army. So that's the only story Mum used to tell me about, but she told me about a cyclone being there. Well, she's got it on the tape that's down there at the Sunshine Coast Library, and just her growing up and nothing much because they had to work. They didn't have time to sit back and talk to kids about how they, what it was like, because they had to put food on the table and send them to school. My father died when I was 4, and then my grandfather, Mum's father, he died early too, so Nana had to look after the rest of the kids, and Mum had to leave school at 13 to look after her brothers and send them to school and help her mother with everything. So really they didn't have time to talk about even the Aboriginal side of things or the South Sea Island side of things, because they had to work and put food on the table. And not like today. I mean, I'm just learning by history and knowing, talking to people, about, but I know about my family because I got it all written down, and I just work it out from there, but they never spoke about it. Well, I will say in Mackay, my best friend, her and I had very long hair, and best friend and I, she wanted to get a haircut, so I said, I'm going to ask Mum if I can just get my hair cut too. So I asked Mum, and this is before I had to go away for the stateside. Mum thought it'd be best because she used to do my hair. Old as I was, she used to plait my hair, make it neat, So her and my best friend and I went into the hairdressers. They refused to cut my hair because of the colour of my skin. Now that was in Mackay, and I'd never forget that, ever, ever. And I thought that was... It's not that I had lice in my hair, it was the colour of my skin that they wouldn't cut my hair. But these days it's completely different. And with housing, I find that with housing, even when Leon and I were together, in Hervey Bay, we'd go and look for a house, rent, the colour of our skin. We couldn't get one. So that annoyed me. And, I believe in you look after the house, whoever you rent it off for. Because we own a rented home down in Hervey Bay now. The people that are there, they must look after the house like I would look after, the house. Well, they didn't even give us a chance. And it was, that's another thing. That's the thing when you're looking for accommodation, it's the colour of your skin. And I do believe that there's some people, black or white, don't matter what race, can leave the house, wreck the house. But they never even gave us a chance to do that. So we got a departmental home, Leon and I, in Maryborough, lived in it. There was a petition taken up in Maryborough that dark people are moving in next door. But those people that put the petition, not all of them did it, but I was told later on, and we lived there for about 20 odd years, and the best neighbours they had. They had us. We were the best neighbours. And a lot of them moved out too, because they thought, no, we can't live next to these people. I thought, let them go. It didn't worry me. I pay my rent, look after the yard, but no. So Oh yes, it
pretty
does.
devastated.
Yes, yes. But now it's, I don't know what it's like now because all my children, they own their home, but they had to work hard for it. But I just don't know what it's like now because I've never come across that again. Yeah, well, Leon and I, we're family. We love our grandchildren, our kids. We just love having family around us, and we just make sure that they, they do well and just be themselves.
And you've lived a very dignified life.
I'm very happy, like my mother and my father, I didn't know him, but because he died, but my mother she was a very strong lady, and I hope I'm like my mum, but I don't think I'd ever be like her because she was, I'm too strict at times. She wasn't. I hope I'm a voice for. I hope I'm a shoulder for my children. If anything ever happens, that they could talk to me, and not sort of think, oh well, no, we better not talk to Mum about this. But anything, I hope I'm there for them when they need a person, like a person to talk to. Even my grandkids, don't be afraid to talk to me, about anything. My brother passed away when he was 18 in Mackay, aneurysm. My brother, second eldest brother, he passed away here in Maryborough because he came from Brisbane, bought a house at Bopple and he worked at the jail. Well, he passed away he had chest problems, so it would have dealt with heart. My other brother, he passed away earlier in 1998. He died of a heart attack. My sister just passed away not so long ago here in Maryborough. She lived here in Maryborough. So she had a heart attack when she came back from visiting her husband's side of the family in Cairns. She married a Thursday Island man, but he'd passed. So I'm the only one that's left. That's why it's the children, my grandchildren, and Leon and that we're very close. And they see that I'm the only one left in my family. So, because you haven't got anyone to talk to. You only I've got Leon and I've got my kids to talk to, but I don't burden them with anything. I deal with it myself or talk to Leon about it, whereas when my mother was alive or my sisters or brothers, I could ring them up any time and talk to them or my mother, but I don't have that anymore. So I hope I'm there for them when they need me.